it is my pleasure to welcome you to the continuation of your news and current affairs program, reaching you live from our Lagos Network studios on the ITV network. I am Joshua Okata. Today on the program, we'll be talking insecurity, particularly the banditry going on in the northern part of Nigeria, precisely in Katsina State. Presently, as we speak, Katsina State is under attack by armed bandits, and no fewer than 5 security agents have been unalive, and of course their security van set ablaze in a locality called Mahaba village in Matazu local government area in Katsina State. As we have it, the governor of that state, in the person of Diko Rada, has swung into action by immediately leading a delegation of both the security agency in the DSS and of course the Commissioner of Police and himself, with other team of individuals who have visited the location to have an on-the-spot assessment of the situation of things. Now the question is, what comes out of that assessment? Would there be a launch into an investigation of that situation, putting a timeline to it? What happens to the culprits, especially the foot soldiers who actually went to carry out that dastard act? And of course, the sponsors behind the criminal situation going on in that particular state called Katsina. These are some of the issues we'll be looking at. Not also to forget the Northern Governors Forum, who have called for a security rejig. What has been the outcome of that situation thus far, looking at the insecurity going on in the northeastern part of Nigeria. So these are some of the conversations that will form the basis for our discussion this morning from our Lagos Network studios. And I have joining me on the program this morning is our guest in the person of Mr. Kenny Otumba. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's always my pleasure to be with you on ITV. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. So now let's go into the crux of our conversation. Now, in recent past, we've had agitators, especially from the Niger Delta region, and their agitations thus far have not been far from the fact that they've been marginalized and their source of livelihood have been really destroyed, looking at the agriculture and of course the aquatic life. To that end, we've seen persons who fronted that movement in the person of Mujahid Asari Dokubo, who moved a group of persons with the name MEND, the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. I'm saying this as a follow-up with what I'm going to ask you now, because looking at the situation of things, these persons have an objective for going into such kind of activities, even if we're not endorsing it on this platform. What would you say is the objective of bandit thus far, seeing the effect it has had on the entirety of the northeastern region?
Thank you very much for that very brilliant question. Let us, differentiate between MEND and banditry. The two of them are not the same thing. Emancipation of Niger Delta is a revolution because of the deplorable state, because of the exploitation, because of the oppression and suppression of the people, whereas they get a lot of resources. In fact, the resources that run Nigeria come from Niger Delta area. So their own is quite different. But come to the other end, which we are talking about, banditry. Banditry is as a result of impunity, lackadaisical attitude of people who perpetually suppress their people.
The people who suppress
their own people. The people who want to create an opportunity to perpetually to have a financial drain to the entire wealth. Because they know the wealth that builds this nation is from the south, from the Niger Delta, south. As long as they maintain that state of quagmire and comatose, and we still call ourselves the federation, the money will still come in. So it is out of impunity, lackadaisical attitude of the people. That is why Boko Haram came, and the sense that people, is about education.
Yes.
People are talking about revolting against Western education. However, we all know now that the tendency of Western or people revolting it comes in with the tendency of colonization. People coming in to actually distinguish that, look, they are scared about because they don't want them to take their land. But it has moved for them. The entire motive was in that realm, was a make-believe. You know, there's some motive that there are two things, in principle and in practice. In principle and practice, it was supposed to be a revolution against Western education in order to carve it, to make it look like the men. But we've seen clearly now the idea is quite different. It's not a revolution because but it's a cultural norm, it's a cultural orientation. Because if you look at it now, it falls within their own purview. It falls within their own cultural layout. So if we now talk about banditry, banditry has to do with crime. It has to do with armed robbery. It has to do with rape. It has to do with cattle rustling. Is it not maiming and killing? So that things, Boko Haram is meant to do two things. That it is not a revolution. Unlike men, it is meant to steal, to maim, and to kill. The three of them is now, we have colored of rape and kidnapping. So it's not a movement. It's an impunity tolerated by people because of the fact that they want to continue to hijack power. They want to create a financial drain. Those are the things. And the factor they claim is lack of education, lack of employment opportunity, poverty, corruption, and also the impunity within the Armed Forces Council. If you look at lack of education, what is stopping? We have 19 states in the north. What is stopping the people in the north to educate their own children?
Now, that brings me to my question. My next question would be, the North, generally speaking, have had a fair share when it comes to the hem of affairs in the country. We've had previous administration who we know came from the North. We've had other, presidents in the past like Yaradua who also came from the North. The North thus far, irrespective of the fact that they've had northern persons who have represented their interests, but they've been very unfortunate with leadership, especially in the North. Now, talking about education, what has been the cause why the North has refused to be developed? From educational part of it, security, and of course, the economy.
The idea is quite very intentional.
To keep them in that state?
If they believe in concept of what we call feudalism. Feudalism, and it falls within that cultural norm. It's here. Our lifestyle in the South, we have all Western education. If you look at the North, they believe in that only one man should be rich, and we have many talaka. They say rankadede. It's part of their culture that every Friday thousands of people will gather in one man's house. They don't even know how the man gets the money. They come to accept it as their own culture. It's a cultural norm. Remember, what is happening now has led to what we call asymmetrical warfare, when you now involve risk, conflicts that is a mix of culture, religion, orientation. How do you know somebody who is wearing jalabia had gone under it, where everybody wearing jalabia is acceptable? So what we're saying is this: it's merely because the people are exploiting that opportunity. Remember, I said now that part of the Boko Haram syndrome is exploitation of environmental resources. We all know the northern side of Nigeria has mineral resources. The best of gold is in Zamfara. The best of copper. The best of lithium. They're all there. So the idea is that some few people there, some few people perpetually retain that nasty attitude to continue to exploit the people, and they are who is who.
So the exploitation comes through inflicting, pain and violence on the people.
Oh yeah, in order to cause a distraction, because when they inflict violence on the people, they have a field day. Quite a lot of people won't be there. Helicopter comes in to fly raw materials out, and we have most of our owners in Dubai. So it is intentional to continue to exploit them. It is intentional to continue to use their religious belief. It is intentional to continue to use the concept of feudalism. It's intentional to continue to maim, to use that system that involve these talaka almajiris. The question I ask, they have physical allocation every month, true or false? They have the almajiri education. There's always a tertiary intervention. There's a UN support intervention. There's multilateral support intervention. Ask yourself, why is it that they've not developed? Let's talk about metamorphosis. Prior to this time around, it used to be revolution against Western education because they want Quranic. That's why the Sharia law comes in. But there was now a metamorphosis. People now see now that it is gaining ground, they now politicize it. Instead of actually going for Western education, they now use them to form a political stalwart, a political stunt, which they use to win election. From there, they equip them with firepower because they want to win election. Tell me election that is not characterized by violence. Tell me election that there is not a free fall of firearm. After that one failed, by the time election, they couldn't get all the weapons from them. Is that not so? Now, those people, they have to actually come. Because somebody that is getting free money is no more getting, and you have weapons. What do you expect them? Idle hand is the devil's workshop. I'm giving you an analysis. Now, that is why they came. They begin to do men. And also, they were protected. Because none has been caught. There had not been any punitive measure. There's no show of shame on anyone. Many of them have not been prosecuted. They've only gone free, which means they are protected by some who is who. From that now, they now factionalize. Why is it easy to recruit people to join them? What are they using the money they've given them? Security vote, what are they giving them? Some of them, they say they have commissioner of education. They have ministry of education. What are they doing? Which means all those ministry commissioner, they are is a financial drain.
Now, when you say that these men, have, a little bit of coordination among themselves, talking about the fact that each time there is an attack, which is, like you said, a form of distraction, helicopters are taking mineral resources away from the area as a way of exploiting the people. Now, would you say that by virtue of that fact, we have persons who are sponsoring that illicit trade within the government? Because an individual who is almost like, surviving from hand to mouth may not be able to afford an helicopter, let alone go into that kind of trade. So would you say that by virtue of this kind of connivance, we have persons in the government who are also sponsoring this act?
Thank you very much. The word cabal is not new to you. There is no government that comes to Nigeria that did not maintain there is a cabal in my government. Even Jonathan came to say there is cabal. Suffice to say, even UAE, people who are sponsoring terrorism, they forwarded the name to us. What did we do about those names? Was there any naming and shaming? So it is certain that there are people that create things. In fact, many a time they mention different group. I mean, we say they've killed this commander, they've killed this commander. Why is it that it's easy to recruit for Boko Haram? It's not easy to recruit for soldiers who will combat them. Why is it easy to have an avalanche of people to join Boko Haram? It's not easy to have police. Can't you ask ourselves question? We should ask ourselves that pertinent question. Suffice to say, Boko Haram has metamorphosed to Lukerawa. Lukerawa has given birth to another Madaba. All are different groups. What did they do? They steal, they kill, they maim. If it's not a thriving business, how come they are metamorphosing?
Now,
how come none of them have been caught?
That brings me now to my next question, because it's so unfortunate that they are now targeting security operatives within the area, perhaps vigilantes and what have you, as opposed to their prey, which is kill or maim or even destroy properties. Why are they now targeting security agencies?
Security agency, their security operative is even the Boko Haram. Didn't they visit the army formation? Yes, they visit the decimated army formation.
So what's the aim?
The aim is to weaken the entire security architecture. It's a financial. Look, the budget we have for security is 4 trillion. Why is it that the budget allocation increases every year and the conflict, the effect of insurgency takes different dimension every year. These are questions Nigerians should ask themselves question. As of today, if you look at it, even Borno happened to be the center point. What happened in Katsina is a child play. Is due to lack of proper coordination. You know, once their communities and their vigilantes and their state security network, their state security agency, there's no state that you don't have SS. You don't have state service. You don't have intelligence network. You don't have police. You don't have army. You don't have navy. You don't have neighborhood watch. How come people still go undeterred? It is because when the security agent, what really happened? If there are proper coordination, it will have happened. From what I gather, very simple. It was because one of the security operatives actually responded to a call. With me, what it means is that among the security operatives, there are moles in them. Very clear. And security operatives, they say, they are vigilante community operatives in the place. You know, I told you there are 5 levels. There is intelligence network, there's state security service, there's police network, there's army network, there's naval network, the Air Force network, because it's an inland bound area. All those form the security architecture. Now, when you now come in, the vigilante group, the security agents working with the vigilante group. What happened is about people doing security service. We now begin to ask ourselves one question. The question we have is this: what is the level of coordination between the conventional security service and the security agent and the community service and the communities? It means now that there's a breakdown of credible relationship in terms of getting information. It means now that even the security mode, they are mode in them. Why is it that most of the operation, they go there undeterred? How can you explain this? Insurgency visiting a army formation, you did not catch them. It happened in Kaduna, where we have artillery. None was caught. Then ask me a question. If you look at it carefully, we've said so many factors that is involved. It means now that we need to revisit certain things.
Now, talking about the investigation that might likely come out, looking at it in days to come, especially the fact that the governor now has visited the location alongside with his team, are we likely to see any positive outcome if there is an investigation that will be launched? Secondly, those who are suspects of that particular crime alongside their sponsors, are we likely to see a situation where the faces of these individuals will be unmasked, identified, and prosecuted?
The answer
or will it just be the usual way?
To the best of my knowledge, it's the usual practice. How many investigations have they conducted and they did naming and shaming? No, you might have the better information I've not seen. What kept on saying is, when they even say they rescue, who are they supposed to show? When they say there's a rescue operation, who should they show? Is it the victim they should display, or the people that were caught? In every operation they did, is the victim they do, which means there is no rescue operation. People call it rescue. There's no rescue. If there's a rescue operation, the captors, why is it that they only show the captive? The captors went on free, and it's only maybe face off will say they kill Commander K. How do we verify the so-called commander? Where some of these commanders, they work freely within the people, they even take shifts anti-title. No, you understand? Among the people. So the whole thing is complicit, and the only solution, to the best of my knowledge, is to deregulate security. What I'm now saying is it, they should decentralize the policing mechanism in Nigeria. If they don't decentralize policing mechanism, is a problem. And also, they need to rejig the entire security architecture. What is the primary objective of army? Are they supposed to be fighting internally? No.
Talking about the issue of rejigging the security architecture, which the Northern Governors Forum, demanded a few days back. Now, the question is, before you call for a rejig, what do you think should be the first step? Because these guys, these armed bandits have been around for a while. And looking at the mayhem they've really committed, would you say that putting a rejigging of the security first will not amount to putting the cart before the horse, as opposed to, first of all, proscribing these persons as a terror organization, given the fact that the previous administration didn't even spend any time by prescribing IPOP, a terror organization? So why the delay in prescribing armed bandits in the north, a terror organization, before rejigging the security apparatus?
Thank you very much. There's a difference between rejigging and also, in fact, even the last administration did not prescribe them as terrorists.
Of course, that's why I'm going.
It was a media issue that actually went on far to say they are terrorists, which means they've accepted the entire shenanigan as part of their culture, which to me is what we call agent of destabilization.
So are you saying, by virtue of that statement, that the government also has a vested interest in it?
I'm not going to say government have vested interest. Who is government? Is it not the people, by the people, and for the people? What we're saying is, I only refer to agent of destabilization within the system, the moles within the government
that have accepted it as their culture.
Entire Nigerian sphere have accepted that as a culture. Let me be frank with you. Why is it that many of them have not been caught? Why is it that it is easy to recruit? Why is it that they live and wine and dine with people? Why is it that when it comes to sharing money, they even share it on the social media? They know where they are. They can get them, yet none has been prosecuted. Answer. Even though nobody is even spared, if people have not accepted this as a culture, come to think of it, as of today, let me be frank with you, let me be emphatic, because I'm very careful when I do analysis when it comes to security. As of today, the entire people who are in the House of Assembly, at the state level, at the House of Representatives, at the Senate level, there had not been any single bill proscribing them as a terrorist. Sponsoring the bill, coming to a resolution of killing. Even when people sponsor the bill, they are shouted down. If they've not accepted it as part of their culture, why would we have that? Why that as of today there has not been any bill sponsored at any level to prescribe them, and also to actually gazette that if you kill, you shall, at least it's part of them. Why?
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kenny Otumba, social affairs analyst, and of course a public interventionist. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's the much we will be having with you from our Lagos Network studios. We thank you so much for watching.